Welcome back to Beards and Brews. This week's review is going to be Knives Out, a Rian Johnson picture from 2019.
This was my pick. I'll be honest, I absolutely love this movie, and I found so many more little things the second time around than the first time. This was your guys' first time around, right?
Correct.
True, yes. And the only reason why I abstained from watching this movie isn't because it's bad. I actually wound up enjoying it quite a bit. It's because Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars.
Motherfucker.
I'm not actually hateful about it, just it wasn't a good movie. I like Blooper. He's a good director. You know, swing and a miss. It happens.
I thought this movie was enjoyable. It's really weird to see an all-star cast for one in 2020. Everybody in here puts in a hell of a performance, especially what's his name? Chris Plummer, Mike Shannon, and
Daniel Craig.
Daniel fucking Foghorn Leghorn Craig. He
100%.
is a shining star.
Like, this guy transcends his character, because I was speaking to Brady earlier. I was like, hey man, every time I see Daniel Craig's face, I just expect, Bond, James Bond. But no, he perfectly nails that Southern gentleman accent, and it's flawless. He never breaks, and every time he opens his mouth, I'm impressed by it.
Yeah, if I told you ahead of time, this movie has Daniel Craig, and he has a fucking Georgia Savannah accent, something like that, you'd say, well, that sounds ridiculous, but he pulls it off really well.
Yeah, he just walks in, I say, there's been a murder in here.
Now listen here, boy, I said, boy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a testament to his acting ability, because for the past 10 years, we've just been seeing him as James Bond, maybe a few other bits or whatever. This is a really great performance by him.
Yeah, this movie has a long cast. Not a whole lot of characters, but you've got a lot of names in this.
True.
Before we get into the whole ensemble cast, before we meet everyone, I'd like to just set the stage for what happens at the very beginning, the first 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, make sure you dim the lights, maybe light a candle, get into the mood.
My pants are already off.
I said Knives Out, not Dicks Out.
Anyway, pretty much you've got this big old money mansion in, Massachusetts. This is an estate. This is an expensive fucking piece of land, all right? Full of knickknacks that are probably priceless. Lots of wood, old wood.
The place just smells of mahogany. Mm.
Yeah. And the first thing that we see is someone loading up this little tray with breakfast probably, and a mug that says, "My house, my rules, my coffee," something real kitschy like that. And you've got the caretaker.
She's the maid,
Housekeeper. Yeah, housekeeper maid. Her name is Fran, taking this tray of breakfast up to an attic room where she encounters the patriarch of this family, the owner of the house, with a slit throat. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, it's something you don't see every day, I guess.
Yeah.
She then spills everything, and we get to me, this was the slowest part of the fucking movie, is them trying to introduce each character.
There are a lot of people. Yeah, it takes up a lot of time.
A lot of them actually could have been cut out of the film, and I don't think it would have been a detriment at all.
You know what? You're not wrong. As the movie kind of unfolds, we'll definitely get into it. You could definitely tell that some of these people had nothing to do with anything. When it comes to the murder.
This is the introduction to the family right here. Whenever the next morning, you've got two detectives coming in, sort of questioning everyone who was at the party, the house, the evening before. And you meet everyone. You meet Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Christopher Plummer's daughter. Is that right?
Yes, she plays Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep. Her husband, Don Johnson, Nash Bridges.
Yeah, exactly. Miami Vice over there. Hanging out.
Toni Collette, who plays Joni. Is that another daughter, or is that's she was married to a son of the family who's already deceased?
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
she was married in the family. It wasn't hereditary. Got it.
Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, Michael Shannon, Walter.
Yeah, you know what pleased me about this movie? The fact that he wasn't playing like a shitty bad guy. Like I know he was born with that face where he's just like evil or whatever, but it was nice to just see him as a regular person.
You got
I don't
Walt's kid.
Walt's kid is
Oh
Ned.
yeah,
No, it's the fascist little boy.
yeah, the
Oh,
social
yeah.
justice Nazi. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fucking 4chan B-tard alt-right masturbator.
Yeah, I was gonna say just AKA masturbator and commander.
Yeah.
And then you, of course, have Shut Up Meg.
That's the daughter of somebody, right?
Yeah.
Tony Collette.
Yes,
Yeah.
Joni's daughter.
Like one or two of these women kind of look the same, and I got a little confused at the beginning. So.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Donna, who is Michael Shannon's wife, maybe?
Yes, I guess. I don't know.
Garfunkel from Garfunkel.
Fucking Garfunkel. I know that Don Johnson and Jamie Lee Curtis are married, and
That's
their
right.
son is Captain America.
Okay, yeah, their son is Chris Evans, who is not there yet. Let's just go ahead and say there's a lot of spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen this movie out there in the audience, go watch it and come back to us. Because this is spoiler heavy.
Or just listen to the podcast, forget about the movie, and we'll make it sound as awful as possible.
It's true. This movie is a lot better, in my opinion, than what we're going to make it sound. Anyway, so that is most of the family. We might have missed somebody because there's a lot of people in this. And what we mostly find out through these little interviews with the detectives, they're all fucking liars. They're not necessarily murderers, but they're all fucking liars.
Yeah, the whole family is just like made up of just like rich, snobby shitbirds.
Mhm.
And they all have like they all sit down individually and try to like spiel their story because they had like a little family party because Christopher Plummer had his 85th birthday. And it's almost like, I don't know if everybody's played this game called Ellie Noire, but it has this mechanic to where somebody will tell their story or their alibi, and it'll give you a moment to figure out if they're lying or not, and they all just sat there just like making faces and like clearly you're fucking lying, you whore.
But they were all lying about unimportant shit. You know, again, we're saying spoilers and stuff. All sorts of things start happening, and they end up giving you the biggest just reveal later. And you go, well, why in the hell did I have 30 minutes of lead up to this if you're just going to show me what happened?
That's why I mentioned earlier, like, it was kind of easy to figure out maybe like 2 or 3 people who had nothing to do with the death of Christopher Plummer, because the stuff that they lied about, like, made no fucking sense to lie about to begin with. Like, who are you trying to cover up after?
Well, I think what they wanted to do was they didn't want to give the detectives a reason to suspect them. Like,
oh come on, man. I've never seen a room full of more sus people.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
For example, Don Johnson, he was talking about, you know, the letter that Christopher Plummer was going to give Jamie Lee Curtis, his wife, revealing that he was having an affair. Okay, if he talks about that, then that gives suspicion, that gives like motive to the detectives that he did it. Like, same with Toni Collette, Christopher Plummer cutting her off. Like, if she tells them, yeah, he had just told me that he cut her off. You know, maybe that's motive.
Okay, I guess that kind of alleviates that situation. Maybe I was a little caught up in just, I don't know, just how weird everybody was. Like, I know they're supposed to be kind of playing guilty, per se, because we at that point, like, we don't know exactly who or what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like, to my point, that, you know, like 2 or 3 of these people clearly just like, yeah, they're just bullshitting.
But in addition to all of this, we meet who I think is supposed to be maybe the lead of the movie. Her name is Marta. I've never seen her in anything else, but I think she did a really good job in this. Ana de Armas.
I think she was in the Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, really? Huh. Well, I should watch that then.
Fuck you.
Yeah, Eric lent me his copy of Blade Runner 2049 for like 6 months, and I never watched it.
Man,
I mean-
urgency.
Just skip out on a good movie. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, she's in another film with our good man, Mr. Daniel Craig. She's going to be in No Time to Die, 2021.
Ooh.
And I've heard that she is having a little bit of a relationship with Mr. Ben Affleck, which seems really weird to me because he's like twice her age.
Bro, he's Batman.
It's all about that chin.
But yeah, Marta is Christopher Plummer. What is his actual name?
Rigor mortis. I don't know.
Harlan.
Mr. Zombie.
This movie revolves around Harlan and his death, his suicide, which it was originally ruled. This is his nurse, his almost live-in nurse. Like, she's not living there, but she's there all the time, it seems like.
Yeah. They even explained it in the movie, like, she was only hired for, like, maybe 15 hours a week just to, take care of him. Over the years, he just grew to, like her and admire her as an actual friend, whereas, like, the rest of his family are just, like, fucking vultures, and he wants nothing to do with them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
She was also good at backgammon, or whatever that game was. Go.
In the game, it's called Go, but I was thinking that was called, like, Makala or Mancala, something like that. But also, it looks pretty much like Othello to me. I don't know what this game is, but they play it.
I don't know. It's certainly not a game heavy enough to sound like a body hitting the floor.
I don't know. You could sell it that way.
So that's how, speaking of bodies hitting the floor. No. But
I thought it.
That starts to do like the whole, okay, these people are giving their story of what happened that night, and we're each getting a different variation or just a slight extra add-on to the events of the night of the said murder/suicide. All these little pieces add up, kind of incriminating, or they just seem like they had nothing to do with it. And so by the end of all these little tales, the cops are like, well, I guess it was a suicide. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you got Mr. Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, what's his name in this? It's like fucking something super French sounding. Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, something buku, I don't know. But yeah, he basically struts in with these other two fellas, the detectives, and he's legitimately in the background, soft focused the whole time. I'm just like, what the fuck is James Bond doing back there in all these scenes? And nobody even brings him up for 15 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
Until Jamie Lee Curtis and goes, excuse me, but who the fuck is that? And he's back there like, Colonel Angus.
My name is Benoit Blanc. I was hired to poke around and see if I could find something.
Yeah, and he had this little thing before people got fed up and it's like, who the fuck is this guy? He could definitely tell when people were just super lying, and he would just reach over and just ping the piano once and just be like, yeah, full of shit you are.
I did like that.
When he finally reveals himself, I am Benoit Blanc and all this stuff, Joni is like, oh yeah, I read a tweet about a New Yorker article about you. And Jamie Lee Curtis, in contrast to this fucking yuppie sort of Instagram influencer kind of person, Jamie Lee Curtis is the actual, in the know kind of character. And she's like, yeah, I actually read the New Yorker article about you. So I vaguely know who you are.
But also being the antithesis, she was really excited, oh yeah, you're that famous guy that I read about. And Jamie Lee Curtis was just like, listen, you're trying to fucking make me incriminate myself. You can fuck off right about now.
Yeah.
And I loved it because she's like, you ain't gonna get me to talk shit. And then it's snap cut to fucking the other guy, Walt or whatever.
Oh yeah, Michael Shannon just spilling his guts.
Yeah, and he's like, my family's a piece of shit, and I want the money, and I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't me, it was one of them.
Don Johnson, excuse me. Yeah,
that was Don
Johnson, yeah.
We get some more little segments like that. The whole time, mind you, they're set with this really cool fucking backdrop of, throne with, Game of Thronesies. It's got, these knives arranged in this fucking really weird yet really cool pattern/design, and that's a really neat visual effect they use throughout the entire film that comes into play with some of the early lines given by the patriarch of the family, and then at the finale of the film.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the context, but Harlan was just like, yeah, some of these people wouldn't know the difference between a dagger and a spring-loaded whatever.
The context is, in that particular conversation, he was just like explaining how dumb and unfocused everybody was because they just wanted to get rich off of him. And two, I guess it just had something to do with one of the mystery novels that he had, so it definitely had a place to be in the house, and it's just not some cool chair that they had randomly.
Yeah. He's made his fortune off being a mystery writer. His and his family's fortune. Let's just be honest. All of them are, just suckling at his teat.
Suckling at his plumbing.
Oh. But the detectives are kind of like starstruck, like, oh, this is Harlan Harlan Thrombey's house. I've read all of his books. Yeah.
Now, we get like a really cool, interesting look because after Daniel Craig gets done talking to everybody, he doesn't really have like a feel for, who is and who isn't lying, but he definitely knows something is up. And they're like, no, it's a suicide. Look, Dexter came in here and was like, the blood spray says it was good to go. This is a suicide. He's like, oh, well, I work on a southern plantation and smoke cigars. Let's go speak to the lady out here. You there, Marta. And she has a really cool, I suppose you would call it a tick. And he goes, I want to ask you some questions. She goes, can't lie, I gotta puke, and tries to run into the house.
Yeah, she has like a built-in barometer, so if she tells a lie, she gets so nervous she vomits, like pretty much immediately. And, Benoit, he tries to use her as like a compass to kind of like feel out the moment, because it turns out that in the middle of all this, Benoit was hired to come to this, like as if it were a murder case before the murder. And he's just trying to like filter all this through his brain because, it's a big donut with a hole in it.
Man,
maybe that donut hole. Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying here.
I don't think he did either. Like after a while, it was just like a donut with a hole in it, and the donut hole has a hole, but it turned out the donut with a donut, and that has a hole in it, and
it was like someone who was extremely high, rambling because they had just had some sort of fucking epiphany.
But if a donut hole had a hole, wouldn't that make it a donut?
Yeah, it's like if Homer Simpson got, fucking a moment of spiritual inspiration. It was like, just donut.
Homer Simpson got high on ayahuasca or something.
Oh, shit. Well, I mean, that might explain old girl and her issue. She's gonna puke.
But, we later find out Benoit doesn't know who hired him. He gets an envelope full of cash and a note delivered on his doorstep that morning.
Yeah, he gets hired by an envelope of cash.
Yeah.
Now listen, I know he's a trustworthy fella, he's a man of the law, but if there's just some like unlabeled envelope with money just shows up the door, it's like, hey, do this. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna take the money and pretend I didn't see it.
Yeah, and not to mention, they do a lot of current day political commentary throughout this entire film.
Oh yeah.
Daniel Craig's character is a private investigator?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And they have him working literally hand in hand, almost overseeing a fucking sheriff and his deputy. I was like, wait a minute. They'd be like, hey dude, the fuck out of here.
It could also be like they're starstruck, as we mentioned earlier. So they're just like, maybe if he's on to something, this could be for real, that kind of thing. So they just let him like wander around in all these crime scenes, just all haphazardly. Especially like later on when we get to like that burning building, he's just there, just walking up on the troops, and they're just like, yeah, that's fucking Benoit Blanc. What do you think of this?
I think you're right, because at the end when he's going on his big exposition reveal of, the rundown of everything that happened, the one guy's like, hey man, you should probably just, and the guy's like, no, shh, let him finish.
Yeah.
Like, do it.
All right, so we've introduced the family and everything. We've talked about how just about everyone has their own reason for maybe wanting to kill Harlan. Walt was going to get cut off working for the publishing company or whatever. He's not making any money anymore. Joni was getting cut off.
Hers is a little different, just because that apparently she was like embezzling like 10 grand or whatever every year.
$100,000. She got
Yeah,
him for $400,000.
Yeah, something absolutely absurd.
Yeah, for sure. Her daughter, Meg, is going to college, and Harlan had agreed to pay for her tuition. Well, Harlan's account was sending money to both the university and to Joni, each for tuition. So she was effectively stealing $100,000 from him every year, double dipping on that.
Jesus. Those
Mhm.
are some good ass books.
For reals. Now, with the whole embezzlement thing, I was really blown away because, okay, yes, cut her off. But then he cuts off Walt and some of the other people, and his explanation why is completely baffling. He's like, I should have really helped Walt start to make his own way.
Mhm.
So instead of doing that, I'm just going to fucking give him nothing.
I think at that point he was just fed up because his entire family was just like falling apart under the weight of their just greed or whatever.
Mhm.
And like, I don't remember why Jamie Lee Curtis was cut off or anything, but I do know like he was using the whole blackmail whatever scheme against him.
Oh,
Like, would be
against
fair.
Don Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't remember why Jamie Lee Curtis was getting cut off either, but
I really don't think it says anything because at the end she gets a secret letter from him.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the letter that he had told Don Johnson that he was going to give her, and then Don Johnson saw it and it was like, oh, it was empty. He was bluffing.
Yeah.
No.
Or was it?
Or was it? Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Okay, so yeah, you're right, because then they do the little magic thing. But there's fucking so much shit going on in this movie to make you think the entire time. You're constantly running down what's going on, and the meat and bones of what happens with this murder, quote unquote murder, is Marta, his live-in aide, is like, hey, you know, it's time to get your meds, and he's a sore loser, so he flips the backgammon table, and he mixes up the meds. She's like, oh, don't worry, I'll fix it, and she picks up what appears to be the correct, quotes again, bottle, and gives it to him, which, she just gave him 100 milliliters of fucking morphine.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 milligrams of morphine, when she should have given him 3.
And rightfully so, she is panicking, sweating, trying to find the other bottle to reverse the whole thing. And Christopher Plummer's just like, so I have how many? Yes, 10 minutes to live. And at 7-minute marks, I'm going to start to sweat and shake. Ha, wonderful. Okay, come over here. I'm dying.
Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of get it. You know, he's already done what he needed to do with the with his will. This is his 85th birthday. He's lived a long life, and if you're gonna go out, you know, why not go out being filled with morphine?
I mean, I guess, but like seeing how things turned out later on in the movie, he just straight up yacked.
Now, this is also another big reveal part that blew me away because they've shown you what just happened. They're like, here is 100% what happened.
Or is it?
I mean, they showed
That's
you.
the whole movie. It's like this scene, or was it?
Yes, and that's where I got really confused because they're like, here is 100% ABC what happened. And then you go, okay. And then it's like, you got another hour and a half of movie. And you go, wait.
I understand like whodunit movies always have to like, lead you down like a red herring path and kind of like, subvert your expectations. But some of these like retelling of moments were just like clearly just like bold-faced lies. There wasn't just like a hint of something. It's like, oh, this is what happened. You're like, okay, we're on this track. Wait, what?
Like, I think what you're describing is that donut has another whole donut around it.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
but
Yes, we do know exactly how Harlan dies. He thinks that he's going to die via morphine overdose. So he arranges this plan for Marta to get out of it because her mother is an illegal immigrant and he doesn't want her like shipped back to Uruguay or Brazil or wherever she's from.
Okay, the fact that he formulated this entire plan in the supposed 10 minutes that he had left in his life just meant how much of his own fucking Kool-Aid he was drinking. He was just plotting out his entire demise. Like, he wrote his murder mystery stories.
Well, I was really, like, you talking about red herrings. I thought 100% that the biggest clue was whenever she's like, oh my God, I accidentally did the medications wrong. He's like, oh, that would be a great idea for a murder book. And he takes out his fucking notepad and he scribbles it down. I was like, evidence.
And like the next couple minutes, she was like rattling off like, this is what's going to happen at this moment. At this moment, it's like, yes, more.
I need to write it all down so Kentucky Bourbon can find it, but he doesn't.
Yeah, so the directions that he gives to Marta, because he doesn't want her to get into any trouble, is you've got to scurry out, announce the time to Walt as you leave, be like, oh, I can't believe it's already midnight or whatever. Go down the road, pull off before the elephant or whatever it is, come back, scurry up the trellis. It's a complicated thing, but she gets it done. Meanwhile, he's just going to like sit there and like slit his own throat.
He doesn't even do it like in the time it takes for her to go through her like list of stuff to do. He legitimately just flops down like, draw me like one of your French girls' Rose, and just fucking waits for her to come back before he does it.
Oh, I love that she opens the door and he's like, okay, you made it.
Just,
oh, I did enjoy that there's like a whole little cut scene of, what is she, the caretaker or whatever, the lady who finds him the next morning, watching an episode of Murder, She Wrote, starring Jessica Fletcher.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of little hints and stuff to other stuff, especially this whole movie just being like Clue.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Whenever they're outside and the officer goes, well, what do you expect? The dude lives in like a big clue board. And I went, okay, that is a tasteful, direct reference. I will take it.
You know what? If this movie was just like a hint worse, I would have hated that line. Because that's just basically boiling down the whole movie into just like a sentence. I'm just like, but no, it works. It works. I agree with you. I liked it.
Now, Kentucky Bourbon is sitting there and he's like, things are weird and you can't lie, so we'll use you in a buddy cop team up.
Yes.
So they team up. Him and Marta begin with the police to search the grounds, and Marta realizes, oh shit, this guy's onto me already because we're basically tracing everything I'm doing.
Yeah, because they're good detectives, they're good cops, they see all this evidence and are following it like they're bloodhounds or something. And I had some good giggles of her just like trailing kind of ahead of them and just like trying to wipe away her own evidence.
Yeah, you could just hear her like mentally like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, like when she's going through the gate, like she's the first one, it seems like, to remember like it rained, there's muddy footprints, and she like walks back across them, and then he's like, Marta, stop, don't walk anymore. And then she's like, walk. What did you say? I can't hear you. What?
Yeah,
What?
And all the guys are just like, no. All right.
You dumb bitch.
And then, because they even go to look at the videotape, and she's like, oh fuck, and accidentally ejects it. Well, not accidentally, purposely ejects it. And then the guy was like, yeah, if you put a magnet to it, it's gonna break it. So she grabs the fucking grapes magnet off the fridge.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How do they not notice that she just grabs, like, is she like a kleptomaniac or something? She just grabs the magnet off the fridge, puts it in her coat, and then she takes it out of her pocket too whenever she's handing over the tape to the detective.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
that's suspicious.
For real.
I mean, and same thing later on, like when they're outside trailing the evidence or whatever, this woman finds a chunk of wood that broke off when she was scaling the side of the house and legitimately hucks it behind her, turns around as soon as Daniel Craig looks at her, and it hasn't even hit the ground yet.
Yeah, it's like bump, and then the dogs go after it.
Yeah.
Well, toward the end, we have sort of this revealing that Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, knew that Marta had something to do with it all along, but he also had this intuition that she was a good person and, a good heart and all of this stuff. And I feel like he saw all of this, and
Yes.
was like, let's see where this is going.
He was trying to figure out whether or not, she was covering her tracks to be like, oh no, or she was covering her tracks because it was like, I did a decent thing, but it's going to look like I did something awful.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this entire thing is interrupted by the will reading. So the funeral kind of like came and went, and this poor gentleman, this lawyer for the estate, comes in and reading the will, and the entire family, being consisting of nothing but vultures, just start pecking at him like crazy. He's like, listen, fuck off.
Lawyer Frank Oz, by the way.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Laughed so much whenever he starts to read the wheel. He's like, let's see. Oh, well, this is going to be real quick. I blah 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 blah, etc. etc.
Before you get into that, this is our first time we see Captain America. Ransom comes in like right before the will reading and just sits down, plops down with his like snooty like millennial self.
Yeah.
Okay. He does a complete. What is the movie? You guys probably know. Maybe Empire Records. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you.
Half baked.
Oh yeah, dude. I was
half baked. Yeah.
I was fucking rolling because he sits down and the entire family's like, oh man, this fucking cunt of a kid, what are you doing here? You missed a funeral. And he's like, listen, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit.
Eat
to
shit.
Everybody.
Eat shit. But yeah, Walt makes a good line, a good point. It's like, hey, it's funny. You didn't come to the funeral, but you're early for the will reading. Isn't that something?
After he tells everyone to eat shit, you don't know who it is. They're just yelling in the background that they're upset. One of the guys was like, I will not have a single iota of shit.
I think it was Don Johnson or something.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Like, for the most part, this is kind of a serious, like, whodunit mystery movie, but some of the dialogue is just wonderful like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I could honestly say 100%, I think this movie would have been... There's nothing wrong with it, mind you. There's nothing wrong with this film. When it gets to the end, it's well made. Everyone puts in a solid performance. I think it could have honestly had a lot more humor, and this movie would have been, to me personally, more rewatchable.
Oh, that's a good point. Because like the first half of this movie is very slow and very not enigmatic, but like it definitely goes through like the same old paces like any other whodunit movie.
Yeah, they could have just do a little flair with the characters, kind of like how, Clue before them was over the top. I think if they would have just peppered in a few more funny scenes or quirks about characters, it could have came off with more, to me, rewatchability. Like, there's nothing wrong with this movie. I just don't intend to watch it again.
I think there is a lot of humor in here, but it's really dry humor, and that's my style.
Like, that's totally up my alley. Like, Monty Python and all that stuff, just like extremely dry or even awkward humor. But I've got to agree with Brady. Like, there's just not enough super, I don't want to say like jokes or anything, but like nothing that made me like laugh out loud.
I think it's more Wes Anderson style humor where something funny might just be like from the look that one person gives another, or just like one word or one line that's just given in the background that nobody's really paying attention to. Yeah.
I have to disagree because this movie has no scenes of the camera whipping around to Adrian Brody and him yelling "fuck you."
Unfortunately, yeah.
Or someone excusing themselves to walk all the way through the Clue house to smoke a joint and then come back and be like, I killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a line later, right after all that, whenever they're trying to figure out a way, because it turns out whenever the will gets read, Marta gets everything, everyone loses their shit. But there's a good line for the lawyer, and they're like, no, it's foul play. I'm not listening to anything from that tweed suit asshole. And he's just like, oh.
yeah, he just like gets the butt end of the stick. It's like, oh, he doesn't deserve it. He's legitimately just here to do his job and screw off.
Yeah, they have so many big name talents in this that I feel like had they maybe turned the reins over to their improvisational skills and we're like, hey, this is the vibe we're looking for. Just kind of have fun with it. Get this line across for sure, but kind of pepper it with a little bit of your own personality. I think that it could have had that more. To me, it didn't have that personal charm. It was good. It's a good movie, but it didn't have that, like, I want to I want like Jamie Lee Curtis could have been fucking amazing in this. Like, give me some.
I wanted to see more of her for sure. Yeah. In fact, the entire time I was just wishing it was her for whatever reason, just so I could just see like her kind of unfold into like this maybe crazy witch of a woman who just like plotted this whole thing. But pretty early on, you definitely figure out that she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, they all just wanted the. So right after they do this whole big thing with the will reveal, Marta is swarmed literally by the family. They're all like, "Give me my shit! It's my shit!" She gets in her car to get away. The car won't start, whatever reason. Movie cliche number one.
Yeah, movie's got a movie.
Has to jump in the Porsche with Cap. Her and Cap then escape to some local restaurant where they kind of share a beer and a moment over a large plate of brown beans.
They share several beers, actually. Like, if you look, like, each one of them's got like 4 or 5 beers in front of them. And I'm about to have one in front of me.
Gorgeous.
What I've got here today is from Avery Brewing Company out of Boulder, Colorado. This is Ellie's Brown Ale. It's a 5.5% alcohol by volume American brown ale. And I'm looking forward to it because Avery has never steered me wrong before. Ooh, it's pretty dry. Dry, roasty, a lot of good, warm, toasty, roasty malt. This is definitely, for sure, like an autumn beer. But it's got a lot of like nice hoppy backbone too, that little bitterness at the end that just closes everything out really well. Definitely like a good warming beer for autumn. Not quite all the way to winter yet, but we're getting there.
Speaking of getting there, Captain America locks down the whole movie with some solid blackmail.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so he fills her full of brown beans and sausage, and it's like, I know 3 things. I know you didn't do it. I know everyone was cut off. What are the 3 things? I know you can't lie, and I know you just ate a whole bunch of beans, so you're going to tell me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Why? And he goes, because I hate my family, and I want to cut. And she's like,
Pretty much, yeah. So she spills her guts, everything right there, which I feel like that was way too easy.
Yeah. And like this like ticks off the second half of the movie where it's definitely turns into the roller coaster it wants to be. You're on the back half of the top hill.
You want to talk about a roller coaster? Poor fucking Marta. Like, I don't want to say that she does a bad job in this movie, because she does not. She is your focal point for basically the entirety of this film. But to me, she's one of the drabbest fucking characters.
It's odd. Like, I know that she's the lead, but you have so many A-list actors, so many personalities orbiting around her. She just seems not quite like a black hole, but definitely like an eclipse.
So she feels like a donut with a hole in it.
But she is that hole. But there's a donut in that hole.
I'm not trying to bash on her at all. I said, she does a fine job. But I can say this, maybe it's just my attachment to some of these other actors and actresses.
I was going to say, I think it might have been intentional, like to have like this unknown young actress, kind of awkward, in contrast to these powerful stars that we like, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Daniel Craig, to have like Chris Evans, for her to be the foil of everyone else.
I see what you're saying. So you got these people who are the power players, and we're supposed to see them as, there they are, they're strong, they're prominent. And the reason she was chosen by the patriarch of this film was because she was so meek.
Mm-hmm.
And totally not because she was naked in Blade Runner 2049.
Was she? You could have told me that like a year ago and gotten me to watch that movie, okay? Like, that's all you need to say.
Let's not lie, Chan. You would have just Googled it.
I'm Googling it right now.
Welcome to Beards and Boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Marta's got a roller coaster ride ahead of her. Local news has somehow found out.
That happened pretty quickly, by the way. Like, the media was just like on the lawn with like vans and satellite dishes. Like, this is news.
Yeah.
I guess once the lawyer read the will, it didn't take long before the rest of the family started talking, and I guess they were trying to bully her out of well, you don't want all this to keep going. Like, you can make this stop. Just renounce it. Even Walt shows up like in the back hallway of her apartment building, like, "Hey, I just came to see you."
This was a very menacing scene. The way that it was lit, the tightness of that corridor, the performance put in by Michael Shannon, the way he's gripping the cane, the thump of it hitting the floor. They were doing everything in that scene right.
Yeah, the way like he kind of like went into that bit of character, went from like uncle to sexual predator real fast.
Sometimes those are two sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
She shuts him down so good. She's like, "So you're saying with the resources you have, you could save me?" And he's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, the funny thing is, your resources are my resources now, bitch."
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Well, shit."
Fuck, I didn't.
And then she gets a letter from that dude from Scary Movie, or I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it says, "I know what you did last summer."
But yeah, it's the top of the medical examiner's toxicology report on Harlan's autopsy. It's just the printout. So she's like, "Fuck, they know. What do I do? Shit."
And what she does, she panics.
Yep.
Oh yeah, panics and falls right into the hands of Cap. And dude, from the fucking minute he rescues her, Cap is sus AF.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, as soon as that, like, all that stuff went down in the pub or whatever, I'm just like, there's an ulterior motive here.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just, I want my cut. There's something deeper than that.
Yeah, it's a big giveaway. It is a huge punch in the gut. And then whenever Marta runs from the fucking Popo Blue Bros style.
Yeah. See, that's why I got another little, like, hint that he was up to something, because she winds up getting chased by the police. So she goes to the medical examiner building just to see what's up, and someone had burned it down. And for whatever reason, Benoit is just over, just like, what's going over here, fellas? Just doing his fucking thing.
Oh, yep, that's a fire.
And they're trying to hide in plain sight by being like 50 feet away in a really obvious blue car. And Benoit, of course, spots them. And they're just like, what do we do? Let's skedaddle. He's just like way too chill in the situation.
Yeah, and tiny car for the win, quote unquote, because she's got it floored, can only go 60. The other cars are just catching right up to her. And
dude,
to the
that's
point where
great.
Benoit is literally looking at her like, "I'm calling you. Pick up the phone."
Yeah.
Stop it.
Chris Evans is like, floor it. Are you flooring it? And she's like, I'm literally flooring it. We're going 80 miles per hour.
She punches the brakes, swerves down a fucking exit ramp, cuts through some alleys that bigger cars can't follow, and she's like, "Yeah!" And then it turns out that they just went down another street. And guy's like, "Hey man, we're here now."
Yeah, like you can do that if you've got 1 star, but if you've got more than 1 star, if you're on 2 or 3 stars, they're gonna find you real quick.
Yeah, dude, 3 stars. She was 3 stars for sure. Whenever she first took off, 1 star, and then it just went up from there. She was done.
They were about to pull out the helicopter.
Yeah, it was great. Like, she wasn't quick, but she was nimble. She gets to like this random spot hidden somewhere in this town, and they're like, "Okay, we have time to breathe." Woo! You need to step out of your vehicle, please. Need some backup.
And so they're like, "All right, Captain America, you're not under arrest, ? But get in this car. Me, Southern Fried Bond, I'm getting in this car and riding downtown with Marta, because she wouldn't be arrested for evading or, fleeing the scene or anything like that."
No. She did say, like, Ransom told me to drive.
You're right, because it turns out that like as she was escaping from the building or whatever, like, the grandma saw her, like, "Oh," and like mistook her for Captain America. So that was the cops hint, like maybe he was up to something. So they arrest him, and then Benoit's just like, "Did he tell you to get away from us?" And she's like, "Yep."
Yeah, please excuse me while I puke into this In-N-Out cup.
I totally thought that was going to be a thing. Like,
I did too.
Benoit gets in the car, and she's got to do like a chore, and she pulls over to like a laundromat. I thought he was just gonna go steal a sip.
How does he not smell it? You would smell the fucking bile.
I mean, it was a big gulp.
I guess so.
It's that new Glade Febreze or whatever car plug-in. It's just so refreshing. Up to 38 hours nonstop of cool, refreshing water.
Dude,
Sponsor.
that's totally what should have happened in the movie. Like, she has like one of those little smelly things in her car air vents. It's like, wow, up to 38 hours straight. It smells just like a morning laundry.
Yes. Fresh linen, my favorite. But now we get this big exposition donut case nonsense, and he lets her stop at the fucking dry cleaners where the maid is there, and she's like, I'm here, and there's a spider on her fucking eye. Why was there a spider?
I don't know. Maybe is that a reference to something or whatever? Because like it was just like a random spider, and for a second I thought like maybe the spider bit her and she was like waiting, and that's what was kind of killing her. I don't know. Like, is that like a thing?
I have no idea.
I don't think it added up to anything in the movie of importance. But she's like, you did this. Blah. And the lady's like, oh my god, I gotta grab this stuff and leave. But she can't because she's a decent human being who has honestly, in her mind, done nothing wrong. So she can't leave her. So she does what she does, and she dials 911.
It's a great scene because it does give you the inclination that she could go either way. Because the way she grabs her stuff, she's like, oh, she's gonna just like let her fucking rot here. But of course, as you mentioned, she saves the day, and that kind of throws her into contempt because she can no longer hide what happened.
Yeah. The cat's out of the bag now to Benoit, to James Bond, and he's like, well, yep, that sounds about right. Let's go tell the family.
Yeah. And of course, I don't know if it's Benoit's goodwill or the fact that he's just a PI, not a cop, and can't arrest anybody. But Benoit just understands, like clearly what happens. Like, well, it's kind of a thing, but it's in good nature. So let's kind of see where this goes.
And all of this is because of the medical examiner's report. I think she showed up to the laundromat because anyway, she was supposed to meet up with someone who had the other copy of the medical examiner's report when she went to the laundromat. Turned out Fran was there dying, and she ended up getting a little hint, understanding where that copy of the medical examiner's report is, which happened to be in Fran's little stash box.
Yeah, good old weed stash.
So they go back to the big house, and she gets that report. Obviously, like, it's just a bunch of numbers and gibberish. She doesn't know anything about it. She hands it over to Benoit Blanc before she starts to tell everyone exactly what happened.
Yeah, like, she doesn't even, like, read it herself. She just hands it over thinking, like, her life's over. Let's just get this over with. And as we mentioned before, like, the movie's ramping up, and there's a moment right as she's trying to explain to the entire family what happened, James Bond just runs back and he's like, listen here, everybody, everything's good. The case has been solved, and guess what? It was a suicide. See you later.
Yeah.
And she's just like, yeah, I guess.
Like, there's always a little bit more that you think you know the whole story, but, maybe not quite. Maybe there's more. Well, there's more.
He walks her in the next room and looks at the cops and they're like, hey man, you can't do that. He goes, do me a favor real quick. Get those fuckers out of the house, except for whisper, whisper, whisper.
Turns out it was Captain America.
Fucking Captain America, switching sides to become a Nazi.
Damn, Hydra got to him.
Hail Hydra.
Insert elevator fight.
He's sitting there and he's, Captain America has this big moment to where he's like, reveal! And you go, oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, and then she pukes on his face.
That's exactly what I thought. I was just like, yeah, that's about right. Like, I wasn't super surprised or anything. Like, I kind of got the inkling, especially after the whole cop chase or whatever, just because he was just so cool as a cucumber when he really shouldn't have been.
Yeah. And you know, kind of everything wraps itself up in a nice little bow in the last 5 minutes.
Now, not to say that the end of this movie is like, oh, predictable or anything, or not well rewarded. The reward isn't in the person getting like his comeuppance or like finding out who it is. The reward is Daniel Craig piecing the entire movie together in the last 10 minutes. Good
really
God, this man is entertaining.
Yeah. So what had happened was...
Flip,
get my notes
page,
here.
page.
Yeah, I have this novel of my own.
I'm just about. Like, 26 pages is on its way.
Goodness.
What Fran said was, "You did this." What we have just learned is that Ransom is his middle name. He made the help call him Hugh, which was his first name. Hugh did this.
Because Hugh is an asshole.
Switch the drugs. So Marta actually gave Harlan the right drug instead of the wrong drug, and stole the naloxone so that she couldn't undo it.
But even with the Presto Changeo, she put the right amount of the right medication in the man because she did it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So basically, it boils down to Christopher Plummer committing suicide just to spite Captain America.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But before we skip to the very end, the actual arrest or whatever, Marta gets a phone call from the hospital and is like, oh, that's great news. Fran's ready to talk. So Fran is going to spill the beans on all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And Captain America's just like, well, shit, you got me. I tried to kill Fran. I guess I didn't, obviously. So I guess the most that you've got me for is attempted murder. And, I'll be out. I've got great lawyers because I've got $1 billion. Oh, Fran's dead. I was just kidding. Fran's dead. You just admitted to murder.
And then she's just like,
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin pops up and he's got that little, "Hi kids, I'm home early," Talkmaster 2000, and been recording it the whole time.
that was hilarious. Like, he just like turned his hands like, whoop, gotcha. But like, did he really need it? Like, I know it's a cool joke, but like, they're clearly like officers of the law. They could definitely just like attest to the whole thing.
Yeah, but this is Massachusetts. That's a liberal state. Cops don't really have as much draw there as they would in like Georgia. So
Not where good old Benoit Blanc's from, you hear?
yeah. So yeah, he's like, fuck, I don't have a way out. I guess I'm gonna stab this bitch.
I like this, like, you got me for murder. How do I get out of this? Murder.
You can't charge me for the same crime twice. That's double jeopardy. So he takes one of the knives, one of the daggers off of this display that's been sitting over everything that's going on in this movie for the whole time. Takes one of those daggers and just like dives on top of Marta.
Yeah, and like, once again, aren't these two guys cops? Don't they have guns? That's the first thing that fell out of my face. I was just like, why don't they just shoot him?
Maybe everything just happened so fast, and the one guy is obviously still awestruck that he is in this house. It's like, yeah, this is fucking Stephen King's house or something.
I was like,
Pretty cool.
I'm here to solve a murder, and a murder's happening? Wow!
Yeah, it just pans over to him, and the dude grabs a knife, and he's got the popcorn. He's like, "Oh shit!"
He's got the 3D glasses and everything like Gremlins.
Yeah, just throwing the popcorn against his face, not even eating it.
Meanwhile, Don Johnson's son comes in and is like, I did not see that coming. But yeah, it was a fake knife. Yeah, he's going to jail.
Yeah, super jail.
Yeah, super jail, extra jail. Oh, super jail. I remember that show.
Yeah, it was just okay.
Yeah, it was.
I liked it.
But the last scene is one of my favorites. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, so this last scene is just absolutely 100% Wes Anderson.
You know what? I agree and disagree. Like the shots were very kind of like flat, but they were like well orchestrated. Especially like that bit where like all the family turns around and sees Marta there in the house and they're all outside.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
But for some reason, I'm just like, if you just put don't forget about me over this. This is totally an 80s ending.
My favorite thing is, all right, she's wrapped in this blanket. The whole family's outside, like, looking up at her, like, that's our house. That's our familial. What was the?
I know what you're saying.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's like, oh, brother, we're out there. That's our paterfamilias.
Yeah, like that was our home. That was, I mean, not where we lived exactly, but that was our father's estate. Just sitting up there, wrapped in a blanket with that mug that says, "My house, my rules, my coffee."
Got him.
Yeah, and also the most Wes Anderson part of this whole scene is playing Rolling Stones at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, there's a Rolling Stone song in every fucking Wes Anderson movie, and I feel like it's super appropriate that they close it out with Sweet Virginia here.
I thought they were in Massachusetts.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this movie it's like 50% tribute to the movie Clue and 50% tribute to Wes Anderson. And I think that just leans a lot farther toward the Wes Anderson part. I loved it.
It should have been filmed in Mississippi. That way, like, they should have shot Cap at the end, and the guy, Benoit Blanc, could have pulled up his gun after shooting him and been like, "One Mississippi."
Oh, that just makes me think of, like, the end of the movie just turns out like the end of Django Unchained, just like a big old bloodbath at an old mansion or whatever.
And instead of Daniel Craig, you've got Leonardo DiCaprio just watching everybody shoot each other and just laughing.
Yeah, he's got to have that fucking monster can in his hand just watching.
Oh, what that looked like in his memes and stuff or whatever?
Yeah.
To me, it was a little long in the tooth. I didn't find it as fun as Clue. In no way is it a bad movie. The performances put in by everybody are completely acceptable. And then you have three standouts who are just fucking really putting in work. Good on them. Cast, crew, production, it all looks great. I heard my biggest grievance was the runtime was a bit long. I would have liked a bit more humor to be, well, not a bit more humor. It's got a lot of humor. A bit more humor focused. But other than that, it was a good movie, and I like the pick, Chan, man.
Thank you.
I agree for the most part, too. It's a good pick. I feel like the strengths of this movie just come from the actors. Like, even though that some of them don't get enough screen time, they do their parts very well. They're very entertaining. Knocking it out of the park, Daniel Craig as a Southern gentleman, infinitely entertaining, and I want to see more of this particular character doing other mystery solving, just wherever. I just don't care. Even if he has to be like that dude on like the Death on the Nile or something, like, I want to see this guy do more cool stuff. Otherwise, the movie itself is just kind of a little overrated, but I liked it.
You just described everything that I love. And I do love this movie. I recommended this to the cast, really not because I thought it would be a good cast, but because it's a movie that I wanted both of you to see. I didn't want to overhype it too much. But yeah, I love it. It's just right, completely up my alley. I think just about everyone does a solid job. I want to see everyone in this movie more in their roles, and I feel like they've done a good job at forcing me to want more of it.
Well, there you have it. That's Knives Out from 2019. If you have any strong feelings about the movie or the show by itself, leave it in the comment section below.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to hit that little bell icon too, so you know next time we've got our Knives Out.
Follow us on all of our different social media accounts. We got that Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. We have a wonderful administrator constantly pooping out new stuff for you guys. So go out there and really give it a check. What's it going to hurt? Because if not, maybe I'll get a Southern accent for the entirety of the next cast. Or I'll make a short film starring George Clooney in his character role from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And we'll get our good friend Daniel Craig to do his Southern impression, and we'll just have him talk back and forth over a table for 30 minutes.
And he means it.